A few weeks ago, I went to Taylor County, Georgia to do a video about Reverend Earl Little, the father of Malcolm X, whom he always believed was assassinated in Michigan. But while I was here, I learned about Samuel Little, who bragged about having some relation to the Malcolm X family, and he was supposedly born in this very jail cell to a woman by the name of Bessie May Little. Now, Bessie was a teenage prostitute. And because these communities in West Georgia were very racially mixed, usually the black population numbered about half of the county population, they would live on the opposite ends of the tracks, Bessie May would go over the tracks and have little flings with the white boys. And one of these boys was about 19 years old. Well, of course, she was in and out of jail all the time, and it said that in 1941, Bessie May actually gave birth to Samuel Little in this jail cell. Now, it wasn't too long after this that she moved up to Lorain, so of course Samuel Little's time here in Taylor County and specifically Reynolds, Georgia, was very, very limited. But it was probably an influencing factor in his life. I mean, he, of course, encountered racism up in Ohio, but there was a different character to it here in Taylor County, which you'll see. And I'm just aiming to show some of the places. This is, in fact, the Little Cemetery, which is, the mother, Bessie May Little. I didn't find her grave, and I didn't find the grave of Reverend Earl Little. And actually, there's a video in the pipeline about Earl Little. I think that it is a long-forgotten chapter of Georgia and Michigan history and civil rights history in general. But what's so interesting about these counties in West Georgia is that they oftentimes numbered about 50% or more black people. And that's why Heard County, Troup County, Taylor County, they all have a long track record of lynchings because once these people gained the right to vote, it was a very tense time for a lot of the white residents who believed that they would vote for politicians that didn't represent white interests. And I actually was tempted to walk into the Taylor County Sheriff's Office and ask if they had any records. Either way, Bessie May lived in Reynolds, Georgia, and I'll show a little bit about this city. Over these tracks, you have the black part of town. Looks totally different than the white part, and there's even a movie trope called Born on the Wrong Side of the Tracks. And here you can see a large dividing road going down the center of town. It's an old railroad town filled with the same sorts of junk that you'll see in every Georgia railroad town, because most of these towns now have more or less died out, and this is a good distance away from the county seat itself, but it's a nice, quiet, little quaint community. And you can see here people painting the wall. This is an old railroad station. Again, my main interest here was in Reverend Earl Little. And it's very interesting to think of the weird relation that Samuel Little might have had with the Malcolm X family. Of course, the Little family was very wide. His father had 10 children here. I want you to check this out. So this is the town of Reynolds, Georgia, where Malcolm X's father was born in 1890. I'll pan around here. This is the main street. And the way that a lot of these towns, even nowadays, are set up is that people are divided along race right over the railroad tracks. And because there were railroads and the industrialization of the American South after the Civil War, this became more pronounced during Jim Crow South. So all behind me, you've got the white community, but as I pass down here, past the sign for Roberta, you'll start seeing the cheaper apartments and the black communities. Now, of course, right over the tracks, you've got decent white houses, and you've got all the government offices and buildings and the courthouse and everything, but over here, you can see that the community is still more or less segregated. And in fact, the cemetery where the Little family is buried is about 3 minutes down this street right here.